Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome, everybody, to Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. Good morning to our friends in Sioux Falls who watch us regularly on KSFL TV and everyone in western South Dakota on KNBN and all parts in between at Inforum.com. It is Thursday, the 27th day of August 2026, and for those that have waited 6.5 long months, 7 months, your nightmare is over. College football officially returns today. We have games across the United States. The FCS and Division II is getting the spotlight today. Some NAIA games are going on today. It is officially here. Now, for the FBS world, we have to wait till officially Saturday. So it's a couple days longer. But for you FCS nerds out there, and I'm not going to say I'm a former one. Maybe recovering is the best way to say. I'm still one of you. Even though I don't cover it as much as I used to. Today's a big day. And I can only hope as we go forward with this, where we're going to have an earlier start to the season, certainly next year and the year after that, that we get, I'll say, better matchups here. The FBS took forever to embrace the non-conference where you get some really fun games early on in the season. Week 1 next week, notwithstanding, because there's really nothing super appetizing to start the year. But when you get like Ohio State to play Texas or something like that, right, or Alabama before, or Ohio, Alabama, Ohio State, something of that nature, where we can have those games, the FCS needs to get on board. Because as I was scrolling through the games today, I just did I miss one? Like maybe there is something hidden today that isn't. That's hey, this is gonna be, and I didn't. there isn't that is going to grab your attention today. That notwithstanding, it is football and it does count. The Missouri Valley is back in the spotlight today. They will have 4 games with their, now as I say it, 9 teams remaining in the league, with North Dakota State moving on to the Mountain West Conference. We know the University of North Dakota will play tonight, their game with Long Island at 7 o'clock. We previewed that yesterday on the show with head coach Eric Schmidt. If you missed that, go back and podcast our conversation with Eric. Here are the other matchups tonight across the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Youngstown State opens up 2026 as they'll take on Mercyhurst. The other matchups we got going on tonight, Southern Illinois. We talked about this briefly yesterday with Sam Herter. They've got West Florida. That might be intriguing, question mark, because West Florida is making its jump up from Division II to the FCS ranks. They're the newest D1 member. The Argonauts, where former Bison running back Jalen Bussey finished his collegiate career, have had a great ride in Division II, won a national championship a handful of years ago, that they've had some great success. They think they can take that into the Division I ranks. The other matchup involves our friends in Murray. They've got Eastern Illinois tonight. All those games available on ESPN+. So if you didn't cancel your ESPN Plus subscription, you're able to watch those games coming up tonight, whether it's UND, Southern, Youngstown, or Murray. The rest of the Valley will play on Saturday. That includes South Dakota State. That includes South Dakota. The Jackrabbits have Stetson, with the Coyotes getting Central Connecticut State to come to Vermilion. So that's the lineup. That's the little morsel to get you going. And I will have that on maybe in the background. The Dragons play tonight, as we previewed also earlier in the week. That's the game I'll have on. Of course, you can watch that tonight on WDAY 2 of their game with Northern Michigan over at Shields Field. That, to me, is going to be the at least the main course for me to get back into the football season. So here we go. We've been waiting for it. We've been counting down for it. I've been telling you since the end of July that summer is over. Now it officially is done so with school back in session for kids in West Fargo today. Fargo yesterday. Moorhead gets going on Monday. It is ready to roll. And that's maybe the perfect timeline or cutoff for the Minnesota Twins. Say, hey, you know what? The Twins, thank you for getting us all the way to August and on the doorstep of Viking football and the college football season. You made it more interesting than we ever thought it would be, specifically in June and July when we thought that it would be really bad. Because last night, combined with what happened Wednesday night, was the Byron Buxton injury went on Tuesday night. And then last night, hard to say that things are trending in the right direction, even though they're heading back home. They just finished up a 1-5 road trip. Last night, wrapping up the series with the Sacramento, Oakland, Las Vegas A's. Brooks Lee got it started. That ball hammered for a home run. Man, the Twins hit the cover off the ball to start the game. Trevor Larnach with a laser beam out to the bullpen. Remember, this is a minor league stadium out there, so the guys are right in the way, so to speak. That makes it a 2-0 score. Kalen Culpepper, I know Corey Provis told me last week it's too early to say he's getting it. I don't know. He's had a great road trip. That is crushed. That's a 428-foot. That would have been out of all of Major League stadiums. They're up 3-0. But the A's just kept coming. It's 4-3. This play maybe defines the road trip because Luke Keyshaw completely misplayed. He had a couple balls last night. He completely misplayed out in center field. Alika Williams comes up with a triple. That gives the A's a 5-4 lead. He had another play where he ran in on it. The ball went over his head. Just, it was a rough night in center. I know he is not a center fielder, but it was a rough going there. Later in the sixth, the A's add to it. Next batter up, Daryl Hernandez with a base hit. Makes it 6-4. A's aren't done. This guy is fun to watch. I don't watch a ton of A's baseball. Lawrence Butler got all of that one. By the way, why don't they wear those jerseys all the time? Those are the best ones. I think he got all of that pitch. That's a home run. That made it 7-4. The A's take the series. The worst team in the American League takes a series to the Minnesota Twins. So all the good vibes that we were talking about with this baseball team a week ago today after they swept the Atlanta Braves is evaporated again because they just went 1-5 on this road trip. Swept by San Diego, and they lose 2 out of 3 to the A's. And as hopeful as the wild card race looked a week ago where the Twins held the final spot, now it looks about as far away as could possibly imagine. As you wake up today, the Twins now sit a full 4 games back. Cleveland doesn't lose. The Guardians have won 7 in a row now. And if you have that kind of win streak with a bunch of middling teams, I'm looking at teams in their last 10 games, all in the race here. Texas, 5-5. Baltimore, 5-5. Toronto, 5-5. Seattle, 6-4. The Twins, 4-6. Tigers, 2-8. They finally won a game and then lost last night. You can't have that kind of stretch and stay in it like the Twins have just done. And if you're Cleveland, you have a stretch like this, you could leapfrog a bunch of teams. And they have done that now, have the Guardians, to get into that final wild card spot. So I don't know if this is over. I think I've said it about 3 other times. I did apologize to him last week. I feel like I want to retract the apology now for how they played over the last week. But no Buxton, no Joe Ryan. I mean, what do you expect? They're 2 best players that are gone. You're trying to take a converted infielder and make him play center field for the first time. And we've seen that with the Keyshaw experience has been. But you can't take him out of the lineup because his bat is too good. So you got to find a place to play him. And now you've got this going on in the outfield. It's not great. And I got one email about the Twins already before the show started. Let me read this here real quick. We were all duped, Dom. Darn of it. All of us Twins fans were teased after they swept the Braves. Was there wild card playoff contention for one day? I actually shared your feeling of apology as a Twins doubter after Minnesota swept Atlanta. Unfortunately, the broom has turned against them again, and they're right back to low expectations. We were duped. I'm still upset from Twins ownership sacking the team last year along with myself and all of Twins Nation. I've been a Twins fan since they came to the Twin Cities. I was just a little guy, but I remember them. Long gone are those days in the rearview mirror. I might catch an inning or two on TV on occasion, but no more after what happened this week. I don't blame you. Sorry, allergies going nuts this morning. I don't blame you on that. Now you've got Detroit and Chicago. Basically, the next 2 weeks are the Tigers and the White Sox. So it's not over. You get hot, but how are you going to get hot when your best player and your best pitcher aren't out there? That's the conundrum you're in. Strib had a story yesterday that Joe Ryan took the first step, I guess, to coming back. Had a good first step to get back out there, but we're still, I don't know, weeks away from that being. The headline is Joe Ryan aces first test after injury, moves closer to rejoining the Twins rotation. He threw 26 pitches and simulated live at-bats Wednesday. No balls were put in play as he generated 8 whiffs. Now, that's what you like to hear. Now, the skeptic in me would say, okay, what is it going to take for Minnesota to call up Walker Jenkins, right? Because that's the last piece. Culpepper's here. Why not on their ace prospect who's killing it again in St. Paul? He had, I think, 2 more home runs last night. Jenkins said he planned on being in the big leagues by now. I mean, what else? He's literally hitting the cover off the ball. So maybe by the time that Provis joins us tomorrow at 9:30, maybe there's a move made, but it doesn't look promising right now for this team's postseason chances. They have to win the next 2 series. Last thing before we go, speaking of some hoops, we're going to talk basketball this morning on our show. The Wolves made a move yesterday. Late in the afternoon, I saw this news percolate. I'm like, okay, because this is a guy the Wolves signed that they could have drafted 5 years ago. Jonathan Kuminga has signed a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves. $13 million deal. He's banking on himself here to play that power forward spot. He was the number 7 overall pick in the 2021 draft. Now, that is the draft that the Wolves had, the number 7 pick that they packaged in the deal to get D'Angelo Russell from Golden State that sent Andrew Wiggins to the Warriors. So this could have been the Wolves pick all along. He was great. If you watch the playoff series 2 years ago when the Wolves played Golden State, this is it from that playoff series, he was unstoppable. Remember, Curry was out. Draymond was, Kuminga was great in that series. He averaged 20 points, shot 54% from the field, 42% from three-point range over 27 minutes. He's 6'7", native of the Congo, was a prep star for spending a year in the G League in 2021 before he was drafted by Golden State. Won a title in that rookie year that was part of when Andrew Wiggins suddenly became like a top 5 player in the NBA that year in 2022. He was traded to the Hawks. He finished this past season with Atlanta. He's averaged 12 points and 4 rebounds a game in his NBA career. And now he is plugged in to that power forward spot. So I'm not going to get into mid-level exceptions and the aprons and all that. Just know the Wolves are still going to have to make a move to get Kuminga under the supposed first apron, I guess. Just know he's going to be the power forward. After the trading of Naz Reid and the trading of Julius Randle, they've got Jonathan Kuminga as his spot. The Wolves provide Kuminga his best opportunity from the Star Tribune to lock down a starting role since the 24 season with Golden State. He'll provide decent scoring and rebounding and is an above-average defender. That's music to my ears. Let's go. That's what you need, a rebounder and somebody to defend. That wasn't Julius Randle's MO per se. I wouldn't say Nas either, but you need somebody next to Gobert out there, right? You need some sort of rim protection, some sort of presence down low that can help with Gobert. And I'm not sure how much Béranger is going to play. They think a lot this upcoming year. We'll see. But little Wolves free agent news last night. Also last night is a perfect segue to our guest lineup because North Dakota State has got its first women's basketball commit for the class of 2028, and she joins our show to start things. West Fargo Horace superstar Lakyn Donnelly announced last night she's committed to play for Jory Collins and the Bison. She'll join us right off the hop here in just a few minutes. It's a big get for the Bison, big get for our show. We're excited to have her to start things in just a couple minutes. We're changing things up on Thursdays now because you see our power hour in the second hour with North Dakota State's coordinators. Grant Olson will start things at 10. Dan Larson will follow right after him at about 10:20. So our guy Sammy G has to get up a little bit earlier. I'm not sure he's thrilled about that. But Goetzinger will join us at 9:35 to his thoughts on the Bison opener. And his first game of the week is coming up tomorrow night between Horace and Red River. We'll preview that with Sam later on in this first hour. So we got a lot to get to in a busy, busy week here to start the season. We'll take our first break. We come back. Horace's Lakyn Donnelly joins us on taking phone calls since she's a 7th grader to now heading into her junior year. She's committed to play for the Bison. That's coming up when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Drone shot there of the shack is a perfect segue to start our show here on a Thursday morning. The news came down last night. Bison women's basketball team has picked up its first commitment for the 2028 class, which may sound absurd to you, but it's not that far away in reality. And a player that we've been talking to for the better part, I'd say, of 4 years now. She's certainly been on our radar and announced last night that she's going to be playing basketball for the Bison. West Fargo Horace superstar Lakyn Donnelly announced yesterday her commitment to the Bison, and she joins us off the hop here on the first day of school, no less, so I don't want to get her in trouble, but we got her for a few minutes this morning. Congratulations. You and I chatted a couple years ago when the offer train started, right? And that was before your freshman year of high school. You've been doing this a long time, so just how does it feel to be over with, to have this done with?
Yeah, I mean, it feels great. It's definitely a weight off my shoulders for sure. I mean, sometimes the recruiting process can be a little bit stressful. I wish it wasn't that way, but I got used to it, as things went on. But once I knew NDSU was the place for me, I didn't see a point in waiting any longer. So glad it's over with. Glad I know where I want to be for sure.
So I remember your first offer came in your freshman year, and I think that may have raised some eyebrows around here. Granted, you had played varsity already for 2 years, but did it ever get overwhelming? Did it ever say, man, this is just, it's a lot, and I'm a freshman, a sophomore in high school right now?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy being so young, getting offers, and it's obviously a cool opportunity. It's awesome that people, take interest in me at a young age. But yeah, I mean, when I was so young, I was a little bit stressed. I was, talking to adults, trying to have like adult conversations as a young kid. So it did get a little bit overwhelming, but at the same time, it's so cool that people, want me and see my talent.
Was it something you're using your mom and dad? Like, what was the sounding board? Who were you relying on throughout that entire time?
Yeah, for sure. My parents, they've been doing this with me since I was young, just going through the basketball journey. So yeah, I would get off the phone and stuff and make sure I went and talked to them, told them, what we talked about. And so yeah, they've been a huge part of this whole decision. Definitely bounced a bunch of ideas off them for sure. And so super happy to have them in it with me.
How early do you remember picking up a basketball?
Gosh, I remember like 4 or 5 years old. The Fargo Basketball Academy, I started training there. So since I was little, I remember we would like dribble and like go collect little ducks and stuff. I think there's pictures of me doing it. So yeah, I've been doing it pretty young. Yeah.
Was that always the sport, Lakyn, or did you like anything else, or was it just basketball all the time?
Well, I did try other things. I did gymnastics when I was younger. I've tried golf, volleyball, but yeah, basketball really just stuck with me. I've loved it. So I've really tried to just focus in on that and do like strength training and stuff on the side to help me with my basketball. But I feel like these days it's getting harder and harder to be like multi-sport athlete. So yeah, I definitely focus on basketball for sure.
So off of that, the spotlight's been on you. Has it felt like I just want to not necessarily be normal, but like people know who you are? How do you handle that where you're 16 years old and you've got a ton of attention already on you?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I just try to like relax and take a deep breath and not let it kind of overwhelm me all the time, and just like remember and keep perspective that like it's awesome, like that I get that opportunity. Not everybody gets to like have people know who you are. So I think it's super cool.
All right, give us the lowdown. Last time when we talked, Bison had offered you, St. Thomas had, UND had. You've had a bunch of other schools when I get to in a second. But what was the pitch on NDSU for you to say, yep, that's where I want to go?
I think that I've been able to build super strong relationships with it starting at such a young age. I've been talking to the coaches, and they really believe in me, which has been a super important part for me. I want to be believed in, I want to be wanted. But, I was talking to Jory one time, and he was kind of telling me that, some advice, like, think about if you were to lose an offer at one of these schools, like, how would that hit you? Type thing. And I started to think and like go through the schools and stuff, and I was like, wow, like, yeah, if NDSU, if they pulled their offer and somebody else took it, like that would really hit me hard. So that's when I kind of started to know, like, that's where I want to be.
What stood out? Obviously their success, you're right here to see it up close. How much was that a factor in saying this is where I want to go?
Yeah, I mean, that part is huge. I mean, I've been a Bison fan since I was little. Both my parents went there, so that's huge. And also, like, my grandparents live here, so they'll be able to come watch me play. So that plays a big role. Just being able to drive 20 minutes away and go play at the Shack is awesome.
So I saw the photos of you. I mean, you have Bison gear on. How young are you in those photos you posted last night?
Well, actually, those photos that I posted last night were the photo shoot was yesterday, but then I slid through and did some.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think like there was one of me in a cheerleading jersey, and I was like 4 years old. I remember that. I got it for my birthday. So yeah, I've been Bison fan. I've been going to football games, basketball games since I can't even remember. So yeah.
The journey on this to have it come full circle now and to be done with, what do you take away from all this over the last couple of years of taking phone calls, direct messages, playing AAU, which I want to talk about in a second? Just how do you encapsulate what's gone on over the last couple of years?
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I think, the recruiting process it's been long and good, just because I think that like I was able to learn a lot of like communication skills that not everyone gets to learn, having to have serious conversations when I was so young. So I really think that was helpful. And also just like AAU playing like super competitive basketball and high circuits it's really helped me. Like I wouldn't be where I am without doing that. So it's been very beneficial.
All right. Who had the bigger reaction? Your teammates, your parents, Jory? Who had the biggest reaction, or somebody else I didn't mention among that?
Honestly, probably one of the best reactions was Jordan, my teammate who's going to NDSU. She called me and she was like screaming on the phone. I mean, like she was probably the most excited out of anyone. It was awesome to just hear her. Like she was so pumped. So yeah, definitely her. So
we had Jordan Christopherson, your teammate, in May, because she announced she's going. She's a senior this upcoming year. People always ask me when they watch you play, knowing about, I'm sure you've been asked about your size. And that's nothing you control. What would you say about that? Say, I'm big enough, I can do this, I can play Division I basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, I'm a shorter player, but I've really focused in on like weight training and getting in the weight room. And that's really helped me, like, just because I can't, control my height, but I can control my strength and stuff. So I think that's going to be a huge factor, just going into the next level, being able to be strong and not get pushed around because of that muscle, for sure.
To have Jordan be going there, how big a deal is that? Was that a factor at all for you?
I mean, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, they got some good players coming in, and Jordan's one of them. We've been playing basketball together since we were like 4 years old, like at every level, travel teams, high school, soon to be college. So like, it's awesome. She's such a great player on and off the court. We're good friends. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm gonna go see her at school soon here too. So we've got a great relationship, and it definitely shows on the basketball court. You
play for the Minnesota Fury. That AAU team is well known. Paige Beckers is an alum of that. The Bison have a couple players that have played on that team. What is that like, Lakyn, to play for that high profile of a team, knowing there's going to be some really well-known college coaches going to watch you play. Is it nerve-wracking?
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. We play on a big stage for sure, but it's awesome because we also get to have that good competition.
Yeah.
And this is my first year playing on it this past year, and we actually won, which was awesome. But like the competition is awesome. Like we're playing against some of the top girls in the country. Some of my teammates are the top girls in the country. So like it's definitely helped me get to where I am and push me to be better for sure.
All right, so I'm going to talk some Hawks here before I let you go. How disappointing was last year? You win it. There's no other thing to do except to try and do it again. So how difficult was last year trying to live up to what you guys did in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely tell, there was a target on our backs at the beginning of the season, and we kind of had to try to shake that off. And it was a disappointing end for sure, but I think that now, like, we've kind of got all that stuff in the past now, and we can kind of come in as an underdog, I feel like, and we should be pretty good this year, so I'm excited.
You're back. Obviously, Jordan's back. Give us some other players on your team. Like, we're going to know their names by the time we get to March.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jordan for sure. We just got Jaya Taylor on our team. She transferred over. She's a all-EDC player. She's good. Ava Larson, she's coming back from an ACL injury, and she's a great shooter, great player, so I think two names. Got to watch for those two for sure.
How excited are you to go out there and have this done with and now just go play?
It's awesome. I'm so glad. I mean, I'm right where I want to be. NDSU is the place for me, I think. So, yeah, I'm glad the recruiting part's done, and I can just continue to focus on getting better and getting ready for that next level.
All right. You better get to school. I don't want to get you in trouble here. Thanks so much for doing this. Congratulations, and we can't wait to watch you play when the season gets going in November, okay?
Thank you.
Good to see you. There she is, Lakyn Donnelly joining us from West Fargo Horace, EDC's leading scorer last year, everyone. 29 points per game, 5 assists per game, shot over 40% from three-point range a season ago. And she's been, for those of us who follow high school basketball in the state of North Dakota, she's been a household name since she was in the 7th grade. I remember I was up at the Shack watching the EDC tournament in 2023 when Horace was playing, I think, Shanley. And Lakyn's a 7th grader out there with Jaden Hales playing, Christopherson's playing. Like, this team is, holy cow, they're coming. And obviously 2 years later, they won the state championship. Hale is now off and getting ready for her sophomore year at Gonzaga. Christopherson is maybe in line to maybe be Miss Basketball this year in the state. Got to have a good year, but she'll be in consideration for that before she heads to NDSU. And Donnelly, the Jackrabbits came in and offered. We talked about that a couple months ago. And again, if Aaron Johnston's in on you, that goes without saying. That's a big-time deal. Utah State offered. I believe West Florida was in. All Division I schools besides the ones I mentioned, St. Thomas, UND, and North Dakota State. That's a big get, we like to say. I know everyone touts that this one's a bigger one just because it's their own backyard. This one's you got to get, and that's a big one for Jory Collins. And we'll watch her again play. Horace is, Minot finally had Lily Bell and Maggie Fricky move on, that maybe the power shift comes back to the east this year. We'll see. But she's going to be fun to watch. Has been for the last 4 years. All right, we'll break. We'll come back. Our guy Sam Goetzinger will join us to get us ready. Bison opener is coming up on Saturday. We'll talk about that. High school game of the week and much more with our guy Sammy G. That's coming up when we return on a Thursday morning edition of Hot Mic after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic on the networks of WDAY. WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Let's take a moment and talk about bunions. The original line read as this: bunions. You may have heard of them. That was my original line.
Hey, thank you, Dom. Johnny Cool Guys there with the sunglasses on.
That was off the dome
to the west of
when
Illinois.
I'm looking on it, like west. I shouldn't say right and left. Is that Missouri?
That is Missouri.
Yes.
That is
underneath
Missouri.
Iowa. Oh, I'm getting good at this.
He's coming.
So we're going to like the bottom peninsula region.
Peninsula?
Okay, we're going to come back on the ETSU tailgate and then go to you. How am I going to go from a tailgate to bunions?
Okay, good deal.
Let's take a moment and talk about bunions.
Oh, I was a little nervous. I was going to make you come up early here for today because our guy Sam Goetzinger joins us. Of course, will be part of our team on Bison Game Day. Look at that big new promo.
Fancy.
Sam, myself,
You can
Jeff,
tell that's
and Kyle.
touched up because my skin doesn't look that good. Wow. I like it. It looks good.
He's a half hour earlier for those folks. I appreciate you adjusting your schedule. Your agent told me that there was going to be some issues with that because
my
like to
wake-up
sleep
time.
in. I know, but you told me you're trying to.
I'm trying to
get better at that.
This week I've been trying to get up at 7 every
How's
day.
that going?
I've been getting up at 7:45. So the snooze button's been alive and well throughout the week, but I've been trying to go to the gym in the morning because there's no other time to do it in the schedule now. So been doing that. So I woke up just in the nick of time today. I'll tell you that way. It was a little hard morning this morning, but we're here, we're ready to go.
Well, with considering you come from West Fargo, and right now 94 is a disaster zone.
I think I've griped to you all week on the construction that's getting here. It's okay because I'm kind of past the rush hour time for people getting to work. So going home is it took me an hour to drive 15 minutes the other day. I went down to Horace yesterday, so I thought I was going to be smart and take University all the way down to 100 and shoot over. Everything is under Horace itself is under construction. So everywhere I run into, it's just a pain in my butt.
There it is. There's the TED Talk from Sam this morning on that.
Let's get it figured out here.
Figure it out? Come on. Apparently, sources indicate to Hot Mike we have football this weekend.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
How about that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's a football game Saturday inside the Fargo Dome, evidently. The Jacksonville State's going to come. So
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. What do we think about Saturday?
Really good game. I told you on Monday when I was looking through some video and cutting some stuff for Bison Game Day coming up this weekend, I just watching more and more clips from last year. All right, this is a pretty good ball club that they're bringing up to the Fargo Dome. They lost a lot of guys. I think the impact is still felt when their former coach, Rich Rodriguez, went to West Virginia and brought a lot of players with him, and still some from last year are trickling over to West Virginia. They lost a lot of guys, but the guys they have coming back are really good. Caden Creel, DeAndre Johnson, Caleb Nix. Its safety is really good. They have a linebacker back as well, Walker Osteen.
Yeah, they got a couple backers
really,
that are good.
Mm-hmm. The top three tacklers from last year are all in the linebacker group, and they're all back this season. It's a really good ball club, and as you'll learn on Saturday a little bit more, this is a team that transitioned in 2023 and has been very successful by the standards of Conference USA in making the jump to FBS. So this is not going to be an easy game, and as Mike said on Tuesday, this is a sneaky important game to open up the season, which is very intriguing.
Yeah, I did an interview this morning as well, and I said the same thing. Like, if the Bison win this, it can certainly change trajectory of what maybe this happens. If they lose, and it also can change the trajectory of, okay, what could this season entail for them in their first year?
Right. It doesn't make or break the outlook of what this team could do in the future of FBS, but it could really have an impact on the season alone.
And I'm sure the usual suspects will be slam dunking it if they lose.
Oh, I'm sure.
How about the move now? And it's one game. I mean, come on.
Against a very good team that's been in the conference championship the last 2 years, won it 2 years ago, and has won 2 bowl games out of 3 years. It's pretty good.
You brought up the point, the first one to me, of watching the video of Caden Creel, and I know this got posted the other day, and the Jacksonville State fans went nuts on me about the Bo Brungard comparison. But I don't know. Yeah. Brungard's a big guy, big for his size. He's athletic. He's not a huge guy. He's not 6 foot tall. I don't think Caden Creel is 6 foot tall.
But they're both listed as 6 foot tall.
6 foot tall. Yeah. I don't think they are.
When I was watching tape on Creel on Monday, that was my immediate reaction. I mean, gosh, they wear the same number, same stature, same play style. It's like this is very similar to Bo Brungard, but I would agree with you. I don't know if he's as fast, maybe as elusive. If you get a Creel in a straight line, he can go.
Yep.
And that is a threat. A guy who can move out of the pocket. He's got an arm. We talked about it on Tuesday at the press conference. He was at the Manning Passing Academy, and that that you got to be pretty good to get to that thing.
Correct.
Last I heard,
Yep.
And he's got some weapons on the outside that he can go to. I don't think he's got just based off of what I've seen, my non-expert opinion on quarterbacks. I don't think he has the strongest arm in the world. it takes a little bit of time for the ball to get to these receivers, and who knows if the Bison secondary can act on that in time or not. They are pretty young, but it's a good quarterback. He's a move-around guy. I don't know if he's quite up to the standard that Bo Brungard has set, but it's very comparable, if you will, between the two of them.
What of the depth chart when you saw it come out Tuesday? And Polisic reiterated 3 or 4 times, do not make too much of this.
Right.
But there are
so
guys
I'm trying not to.
we're trying not to, but this is what we do. What position maybe or player, that I was surprised that person won that particular battle.
I think when I first grabbed it, my eyes immediately went down to the bottom to look at the cornerbacks, because that was my big question, because it's almost a completely different room from last year, with just a couple of returning guys that had played a little bit, some upperclassmen, and then a lot of redshirt freshmen that didn't play at all last year, and now are going to make an impact. I thought the 4 they put on the depth chart, and again, not going to read too much into it because that's going to alter a lot, I imagine. I thought was interesting. Had a feeling that DJ Volz was going to be there, and he was. Now, granted, this is quite the test for him. Hey, welcome to Division I. Here's 6'8" wide receiver in Jacksonville State for your first test there. So, but I had a feeling DJ Volz would be there. I don't know much about Kendrick Carter, who is listed underneath him. I heard a lot of good things. I just haven't seen him a lot, so I don't know much about him. On the other side, it was Marion Moore, who had a feeling he was going to be in the mix.
If you watched anything of spring football, Marion Moore was he's trending in the right direction. He had a couple pass breakups in the practice we televised on Jackson Williams. All right. He's getting it, and obviously it looks like he did that throughout the fall camp.
And I talked to him at Media Day when we were there up the practice facility, and that is a guy who's confident in his abilities, which is good to hear. He stressed to me that cornerback is the hardest position to play on the field. He said, I don't care what the quarterbacks are doing. The cornerback position is the hardest position to play, and he's now learned, after watching Jalen Duffy and Jaquise Alexander and Anthony Shademi Alfaro last year, that you have to play fast, and he's gotten comfortable doing that. And if you make a mistake, have to wash it quickly and continue to go forward. And if you do make a mistake, play fast. That was what he was telling me, and he was also telling me that he's a lot more confident this season, which is good sign. So I think he definitely. They all deserve to be in these positions, but it's good to see Marion Moore in that spot, and then Najee Nelson being the other one who's been around this program for a while. I was looking at his stats this morning. Played in about 19 games, but how many plays has he played in those games?
Last 2 years has been totally sidetracked with injury. 2023, he came on at the end of that season. I remember he had a pick, I want to say, against Southern Illinois. And wow, okay. Yeah. And he was a true freshman at that point. Now she was all right, maybe he's going to be the next guy, and he just has not been able to stay on the field. Polisic pointed him out early during fall camp that he looked like he was trending in the right direction. There's one name that's not on there that will be soon. That's Deron Russell, who's a true freshman out of Waseca, Minnesota, that will play when he is healthy. And he had a calf injury, and they're trying not to rush him back, because that's something with a speedster that you don't mess with a calf, right? You got to give that as much time as possible. When he's ready, he will play. Absolutely. And he may play a lot when he gets back.
Looked fantastic in fall camp. And luckily, I mean, he is an uber athlete. And he
could have played Division I basketball easily.
Timeline for injuries like that, if it's all rehabbed correctly, which I know the medical staff up at NDSU takes that stuff very seriously and does a great job at getting players back on track quickly. And so who knows if he's able to come back sooner or not, but he looked really good. I was also curious, looking at the depth chart, if Chance Tucker, the transfer from Notre Dame, was going to be there. E.J. Davis, the other Division II transfer, if he was going to be there. Now, granted, they're not listed, as the 4 that were on the 2 deep, and read into that what you will, which apparently we're not supposed to read into that too much. I'm sure they'll see the field at some point too, but very curious about the corners just because of the
inexperience. That's the word, man.
They've been around, but they just haven't played a lot, or they haven't played at Division I. DJ Volz has played a lot, but just not at this level. I know Donovan Woolen at the middle linebacker spot is something of note as well. I'll be curious to see what he does with two other inexperienced linebackers to his right and left. So we'll see that.
And I'll say this, we got to roll here. Jacksonville State doesn't throw it deep. I mean, you're going to talk about Johnson, and he can go up and make a play, but their MO last year, they want to spread it out more. It's just dumping it off, little screens or bubbles or that sort of thing, where then the corners are going to be tested. Okay, you got to get up on a guy right away. I'm really interested to see how they perform on Saturday. Yeah. Real quick before we go to break, what do you got coming up on Bison Game Day? What are you working on?
Bison Game Day, really cool story on Alante Burley, and I know that's a name that probably not a lot of Bison fans are familiar with, but he's got a really cool story. Has been around this program for a long time. Was actually, as he was telling us the other day, was a part of that kind of crew that won the FCS National Championship a while ago, and even beyond that, had a lot of great friendships. What was that, 2022-ish? Hard to believe, 2021, 2022, and then had to step away from the program for about a year due to his grades slipping, was put on, suspension, academic suspension, and then stayed in Fargo, which was, somewhat surprising to me. You think if, you're in that position.
From Georgia.
He's from Georgia. You want to go back home, but it was actually his dad who told him, hey, get back up there. There's great influences up there in Fargo. And so he stuck around, got a job away from the team, and ultimately made the decision that he wanted to try to make a comeback onto this team. Talked to Tim, and Tim allowed him to do this if he does A, B, and C, and that's all he's been doing is A, B, and C, and got the opportunity to play in about 5 games last year, made a couple big plays in those 5 games as well. So it's really cool to hear what life lessons he learned throughout his journey in college so far, and what he's now on scholarship. That was announced at fall camp this year, and in front of the entire team, which I know is a really cool, you work hard, you put the effort in, and you get rewarded type of moment. So that's the story of Alante Burley this week. Looking forward to sharing that.
That'll be 10 a.m. Saturday morning on WDAY. We'll break. Much more with Sam when we come back, including get ready for his opening game of the week tomorrow night. We'll preview Red River and Horace and a couple other things with Sam before we get out of here for hour 1 on a Thursday morning. We're back after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Don't forget, high school football game of the week. We got a double dip tomorrow night. WDAY 2 will have Wapaton in Jamestown to start the season, 7 o'clock there. Note the start time on Extra tomorrow, 6:30 out in Horace. You might have to leave now to get there on time.
Right.
Red River and the Hawks here on WDAY Extra. Sam will be on the call of that. You were out there yesterday. We had Harvey McMahon on the show. Davies, I know, is the reigning champs in 3A, but everything, at least to my uninformed eye, seems like Horace is the team that everyone's looking at least on the eastern side of the state.
Right.
That could be the team to beat this year.
I absolutely agree. I think I've been saying that for a couple of weeks, just with a returning quarterback in Matthew Dick, who's been there for a couple of years, took over the reins after they won that state championship in 2024, which actually tomorrow is a rematch of that state championship game. When I know it's completely new rosters for both sides essentially, but having him back is huge, and then to have 2 Division I guys on the outside that you can throw with. And then I think even being there yesterday, I forgot about what they had defensively as well. And it all kind of starts with Reed Full, who's a senior linebacker who's been there for years now and been a big key piece. And he looks like a tank in the linebacker position. So, and the defensive line is big as well, and offensive line is big. I kind of forgot what they had back on defense. And of course, Aiden Green and Livingston play on the other end as well. They play 2 ways. What's going to be interesting for Horace is how they handle the running back situation, because they lost so many great running backs last year. Jackson Narum, who's now at MSUM. Ty Garai for the last couple of years is phenomenal. I don't believe he's playing anymore, but he was so good. Dylan Otterness, I think, was another one as well who's there. So it's going to be a new slew of running backs for Horace, but definitely a team to keep an eye out for on the East.
So you called their last game. When I asked Harvey about that yesterday, about how much that is there, and it was such a weird, and you talked about this before, but the freak of losing that game to Legacy, because, again, I think everyone pointing in last year, certainly Davies was there, but Horace was ready to challenge him, and especially how Horace had won a couple games, and then the flukeness of how they lost, I don't know how much that will spur them on for this season, how they lost last year.
It seems like they're just trying to clean slate it, wipe it out from their mind. I'm trying. I'm trying to. I just have vivid, like, some flashbacks of that game, but I'm trying to remember how they got up to that point of being on the goal line, a chance to win, and it didn't work. I remember it was a cold, windy day.
Yeah.
The conditions were horrible. Legacy had never won a playoff game before, but they had some really good talents on their team, some of which are now running track and field at NDSU. So if that tells you anything, it was an interesting deal. And give all the credit to Legacy; they played a really good game, and Aiden Green wasn't playing in that game as well. So I think they're just trying to wipe it out of their recent memory and focus on this year. That's the vibe I got at practice yesterday, and this is definitely a team that wants to show that they can win a state championship.
Exciting!
Again.
I'm looking forward to it. As we talked about before, and now it gets going tomorrow night with the big schools playing. There's just that game is fun tomorrow. The one next week,
that's going to be something else.
And Harvey was talking about that. I'm sure maybe he talked to you about it when you were out there yesterday, that you might need to get in line now for the Horace Kidney game.
If you're going to leave now to get to the Horace game tomorrow, you might want to head straight to
People get mad at me when I say that Kindred and Horace are touching one another. They basically are.
Pretty
They're not
much.
that far away
now
from one
these
another.
days, well, Eric says they're not, but I mean, the route that I took to get to Horace yesterday felt like I was going to Wapaton. So, I think they're all kind of making their own metro over there, but it's a cool little rivalry that's budding.
So
that's
good
going to be a
week.
phenomenal game.
Phenomenal. We'll get to that in due time. I do have 2 emails to ask you. Dom, you were talking uniforms the other day. Now you have Sam in studio to ask him about the Colts rivalry jerseys. The AFC South is part of this. There they are.
I like that they're doing something new.
What are the Texans look like they're copying the Titans, aren't they?
The
Titans at the top right.
They're top right. Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the same color. It looks like everybody's got the same color blue they're working with.
I don't know what the Jags are doing.
I don't like them.
So, are you wearing your horrendous black helmets? Is that what Indianapolis is doing?
Not horrendous.
They're not good.
That is
the Indiana night one stinks.
That is the one part I like. What I don't like about these is I swear I'm looking straight at a Detroit Lions uniform.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I feel like a lot of these new jerseys that came out in the NFL, they look like another team. The Vikings look like the Ravens. They look like the Ravens.
Yep.
The Jaguars, I don't know what they're doing with theirs. They don't look like anybody. They just look horrible. But and then you get the Texans and the Titans. They
look like they're switching uniforms.
Exactly the same. So what are we? Why are we trying to just take other teams' jerseys here? I like that the Colts are doing something new because they usually don't. Anthracite. I know Coach Feeney out in Moorhead loves that. So blue helmet looks all right. I like the black one. I'm a fan of the black helmets.
Oh, so that's not the black helmet. It's a blue one.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's just it looks like the Lions. It really does, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
You got to sell. You got to sell jerseys and helmets, man. That's what they do. They're looking right at somebody like me who would buy that. That's not for me.
Yeah,
that's not my cup of tea.
I mean,
I held off on the Jets one because, and here's the thing: they wore them one time.
That's
you know what
true.
I mean? If you're gonna wear, you got to wear them 4 or 5 times for me to want to buy it.
Like last year, 2 years ago, Colts announced all these new logo changes. I hadn't seen one of those yet. Where did those go? I hadn't seen any of them.
And here to top it off, we got to go. They put Alec. Is it Alec Pierce?
Yes.
On the physical enabled performance.
Oh, seriously?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's horrible.
So,
like for how long?
I don't. Well, at least it's got to be 6 weeks, doesn't it? If you're on that.
You're kidding.
No, I just saw it on Yahoo Sports. Go talk to Eric when you leave here. So, I thought they were putting him on it.
Okay.
See, well, there you go.
Don't scare me like that. We gave up our whole off season to get this guy. Essentially, we put all the money in the world into him, so he better be able to play.
We will see you on tomorrow night for football and Saturday at the Fargo Dome.
I'll be there
for the game with the Bison and the Gamecocks. Thanks for coming by, bud. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Sam Goetzinger joins us now on Thursdays at 9:30 throughout the football season. We come back. We'll start our second hour with the Power Hour with our guys from North Dakota State. Grant Olson up next. Chat about the Bison defense. It's coming up. We come back.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll here on a Thursday morning. Got a new lineup for football season. We're really excited about for the next, 14 weeks or so. The next 40 minutes on a Thursday, we're going to get both of the Bison coordinators to join us. Stan Larson coming up in just a little bit. We lead off with a home run hitter himself. Grant Olson joins us, North Dakota State defensive coordinator. Sources say there's a football game to be played on Saturday. I don't know if you know this. There's a game coming up on Saturday. But I want to remind you here, tomorrow, I think, is the 13-year anniversary, gosh, we're old, of the Kansas State football game. So I'm part of that question, have you had any salt packets throughout fall camp? Have you done that?
I haven't done any salt packets, but the strength staff that comes around with the extra salted Gatorade, they got a good concoction. They got a really good concoction that I've been enjoying. So anyway, so I've got a couple of those, but I had no idea on the K-State game. I'm glad you told me. That's fantastic.
Have you ever been hotter in your life than that night? Because I haven't. That was the hottest it ever been.
That's a great question. You know what? I will tell you this. This May, they sent me down to go recruit Texas for a day.
Okay.
And, they got practice, whatever, at 5 o'clock. It was so brutally hot. Like, it was one of those that I'm like, it's hard to remember the K-State game all the time, but, like, man, it was up there. This recruiting trip most recently in May down to Texas was one of them. I called Donovan one right away. Like, dude, this is brutal. Oh, man.
All right, so fall camp is in the books. You're going to play a football game. Tell me how you evaluated what you saw defensively to say, all right, this is where we're going to go. This is what we want to roll with in 2026.
Yeah, great question. It's probably interesting that, in years past, we would have really game planned our first opponent, maybe even your second and third opponents in May, right? Well, that was when there was no transfer portal and you knew exactly what you had and who was coming back, and you had a bunch of juniors and seniors and you knew the team and all that stuff. Well, I think part of it is, honestly, we waited a little bit and we did some initial game plan on all of our first opponents, but just waiting and saying, okay, let's wait until fall camp to figure out what we're actually good at. So anyway, so that took a little bit of time, and now that we've got a really good feel for that, okay, great. I think we've got a handful of bread and butter calls that we're going to be able to run with those guys. But I just wanted to see, like, what are guys going to do when it's live? How are our new linebackers going to play? And we rotated the crap out of the linebackers in fall camp just to find out who can make a play when it's live and who can make a tackle and who can communicate. And same thing with the corners and the, extra D linemen and safeties and on down the line. So anyway, that was a huge thing for us, is what those guys do. How do they tackle? How do they compete? How do our DBs do when our offense throws up a fade ball and it's truly live? Who can go in? So those were some really telling plays, and I'm really glad that we got a bunch of those scripted and planned out, and that gave us a great evaluation. And it's got a lot of confidence in me that our guys that go out there will be able to make those plays.
Grant, we talked linebackers when you were on with me at Media Day. How did that – you look at the depth chart, you see Donovan Williams play in the middle. Can you just give us the decision on how that came about, why he's the best fit in the middle for you?
Yeah, well, it's because he's got the most NDSU experience right now. And we've got a couple other guys that have been in the program about as long as he has, but he's played the most. And he has the most understanding of the communication that's necessary, the vocal leadership that's necessary on the field. Like I've been telling the linebackers and I've been telling the young guys that haven't yet played in a loud Fargo Dome environment, it is going to be louder than you've ever been at a college football game on Saturday. It's going to be really loud, and we need a guy that can go out and communicate and do some of those things. And I like a lot of our other linebackers too, don't get me wrong, but just the importance of making sure that the quarterback of our defense is a really good football player with some experience. He's just got too much of it. And the other part of it too, I think, is that some other guys have done a great job making plays. There's some other guys in some other spots that are maybe they don't have as much experience. Well, great. Well, let's get them at an outside linebacker position where they can just trust their athletic ability and go and make some plays. There's a lot of communication that falls on both our safeties and our inside linebackers in particular. So that was where that decision came from. But there will be some times that you'll see Donovan back out playing some Sam linebacker. We will have some more rotations and more personnel packages than what we've had in the past. Just defense overall and just making sure that the exact right guys in the exact right situation. Now, guys like Donovan, they're not going to come off the field a whole lot. He's obviously incredibly special, but some other guys, maybe there's a goal line linebacker, maybe there's a third down linebacker, things along those lines. We'll have some different crews in depending on the situation.
When you look at it, you potentially, if you have Gavin Sell and Ray James with Donovan, that is a really long linebacker unit. How much in the FBS world that kind of length is necessary now?
Well, I think it's huge just because everybody wants to spread you out. If you can get some big, tall guys, our quarterback, Coach Polsick, has come to me many times and has said, when you got big, long, tall guys in there with long arms, he goes, yeah, there might be a window there, but just quarterbacks just get nervous just because those long arms reach out and get one interception, and every quarterback's taught, take care of the football, take care of the football. Don't throw it in those tight windows unless you're sure you can get it. So it's been interesting to see that. Probably not something that I maybe realized when I was a younger player or even a younger coach, of just the importance of getting some long guys in there. And grateful we've got a lot of athletic ability, speed, and length right now on the perimeter at the outside linebacker positions.
Defensive line is getting all the hub. When you've seen it, how is that position group between the tackles and the ends progress through fall camp? Say, all right, we're ready to let them go on Saturday night.
Yeah, well, sort of inside, it's like everybody wants to talk about Keenan and Logan, and those guys are some great players. I think the thing that I wanted to watch is I wanted to find out about the next 4 or 5 guys. Who is going to be the third best? Who's going to be the fourth best? Who's the first guy that's going to rotate in? Who's going to be our tough, nasty, gritty guy that goes in on the goal line package, things like that. So I've been really pleased with the growth and development of Zach Vanderpool and Elijah Wayne and Thomas Roberts and Obald. We have 6 defensive tackles that I personally feel good about, that if those guys are in, I'm not nervous about, I only can make certain calls on the call sheet. And honestly, same thing with the defensive end position. I think that we're pretty dang deep there, that I'm not worried about, oh man, this guy's not athletic enough for this call, or this guy doesn't know what he's doing in this call. We know what we're doing, and we're going to go play fast up front and make some plays. So we're going to cut the dogs loose up front when we get our opportunities, and let them and let them go to work for us. That's one of our strong positions on the team, let alone on the defense. We got great players up there, and we're excited about them.
How's corner shake out for you in terms of what you saw and what you're going to go with on Saturday?
Yeah, right now, Mario Moore and DJ Volz, those are our top 2 guys. They've earned that, and they've earned that through their off-season work, spring ball off-season in the summer, how they competed, fall camp, and then also just live. Like, we did some live this fall camp, like I think everybody does at some point, and we threw up a lot of fade balls, and we did that on purpose, and we put corners in man-to-man and find out, okay, who can go and make a play? But then we also scripted a lot of plays where it's like, okay, now we got to make a block on the perimeter, we got to make a tackle on the perimeter. Who's going to get that job done? And those guys also stepped up and did a really good job there. So feel really good about the ability to cover the deep ball, and feel good about them stepping up and tackling people. Now, they're new starters at NDSU, right? So I know I've been telling those guys, and a lot of guys, it's going to be louder than anything you've ever played in. It's going to be more intense. We need to just stay confident. We're going to give you simple calls that we can get lined up in and play really fast. And we're going to get into the flow of the game. And after we pop our pads a couple times, I know those guys will all be able to settle in very quickly, and then from there just go play.
The offensive coordinator for Jack State, Taylor Housewright, was at Montana State, obviously when the Bison faced Montana State a couple times. How much does that go into your line of thinking, like, all right, he knows what defensively NDSU wants to do, maybe on a base idea? How much do you think about that or go into your game planning?
Man, that's a great question. Yes, it's definitely a part of it. I know that we've both gone back and looked at that game. Both staffs definitely have. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, I'm also like, well, it's also a completely different program for them. It's a different other coaching staff. It's totally different players. So I think all those factors are, you know what, they might take a tiny bit of that Montana State NDSU game plan, and we may take a tiny bit as well, but we've also changed a lot defensively in years since then. We've got different coverages and different blitzes and fronts that we run that we weren't doing at that time. So they're going to have to adjust to the new stuff that we've done. And we're going to have to adjust to the fact that, again, it's different players and different schemes, and we're going to watch Jacksonville State from last year and watch their players and what they do well. And it's hard to imagine they're going to deviate from what they know also. So anyway, that's the hard part about the first games, but also the fun part, because at the end of the day for us, we're going to make some calls that we are confident in and we know our players can execute. Then we're going to go let them make some plays.
When you watch Caden Creel, their quarterback, Grant, what jumps off the screen about what kind of quarterback he is and what you're facing?
Yeah, I would say just the fact that he's got a lot of quarterback run plays. It tells you, is he Trey Lance? Is he Cole Payton? I don't know if I'm necessarily saying that, but man, he's dang good. He's gritty. He's got great vision. If you don't do a good job of bottling up, he's going to bounce and turn an 8-yard run into an 80-yard run in a hurry, and he's obviously fast enough to make some of those big runs. So I'm really impressed by the guy. And then you watch his pass game, whether it's quick game or drop back pass, whatever you're looking at, he throws an accurate ball. He doesn't get a whole lot of passes batted down. He doesn't get sacked a whole lot. I'm really impressed by this guy. He's a heck of a quarterback as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be fun going against him. We're going to have answers both in coverage in the secondary. Okay, how can we confuse this guy? It's going to be hard, but we need to try. And then D-line up front, we need to throw different twists at him, different blitzes. All of a sudden, the next play, you're going to spy the guy. I mean, we constantly just need to mix up our looks against this guy to keep him off edge. Because I think if we just did one thing against him all day, I think he'd be able to have a good day for his team.
You played in the height of the Dome being loud. How big a factor can that be Saturday night against a team that hasn't been here before in your mind?
Oh, I think absolutely huge. And I know they've played some good teams, and I know that program, they've got players that have been to, maybe they've been to Alabama or Auburn or something along those lines. But the Dome is going to be absolutely rocking. That first third down of the game is going to be loud. It's going to be cranked up, and I can't wait for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hair on the back of your neck standing up. So I'm trying to do a great job and explain that to our players and get them ready to go on it. And we're simulating crowd noise and things like that. But I would just, if a fan was listening to this, I would just say one false start, one misalignment, the quarterback, the receiver doesn't get the check because he doesn't hear. Something like that happens on 3rd and 5, and all of a sudden one interception changes the game for you. And that's the sort of advantage that playing in the Fargo Dome has for us. And we need it because we're going against a really good football team. So show up, be loud, cheer, and help us win this game.
How excited are you for this? You and I have talked often on FBS football, and if it happened or not, now it's here. Describe. You played games, man. I mean, what do you think the emotions for you are going to be on Saturday?
Man, great question. I'm going to be internally unbelievably excited. There's going to be some major nerves. I'm going to be honest with you. Doing our Stampede walk and walking by the fans, it's going to hit me for real then, and I'm going to be really nervous. And then I'm going to walk through those doors, and then I'm going to get my gear on and all that stuff, and then I'm going to be okay. And pregame, I'm going to be good. But right before kickoff and national anthem, man, those nerves are going to come back, and I'm going to be ready to go. But what I've learned over the years about myself is that I just need to be always able to take a deep breath and just say, you know what, just give them a call. You got a dang good defense and a good football team. Just take a deep breath, give them a call, and let those guys go play for you. And anyway, I had to learn that. And I learned that about myself and staying relaxed, but at the same time, bringing some energy. I know last year somebody came up to me and said, when you show up with a look in your eye that you're ready to go, many times the defense plays well just because you do a great job of bringing energy. And I'm like, man, that really told me a lot and spoke to me. So I'm going to make sure that I got a look in my eye on Saturday. I'll be ready to go, and that defense will be ready to go.
So
also.
I have to tell you this, the cameras find you quite a bit, whether you're jumping on the sideline. I think you tackled Logan Kopp last year in Grand Forks after that. I mean, you're bringing it there. You did it at the Citadel, if I remember right. We caught you on camera body slamming a guy after a play there. How much do the guys feed off of that, knowing you're right there with them?
I think they just love it and appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think that young men want to know that you're there to support them. And it's funny, I know I'm never trying to draw the camera's attention. I got no interest in doing that. But when Keenan Wilson gets unbelievable knockback on 4th and 1 at UND or makes an interception, I'm going to go get on his hat and make sure he knows that I love him and appreciate him like crazy. And we're going to celebrate those guys. So anything that I can do to uplift the young men on this football team and encourage them, I'm going to do that. And at the end of the day, too, we got to remember, I was learning this in high school football. I had great coaches, but I was always taught from a young age that you play football. And Coach Bull used to talk about it all the time. Guys, we put the work in on Saturday. It's time to go out and have some fun. Coach Kleiman used to always talk about having swagger. That was kind of his line for us. Guys, go out there with an attitude and a smile on your face and have a crap ton of fun. So we're going to keep doing that, because what I've learned again about our defense over the last 16 years now at NDSU is when we're smiling and having fun, we're really good and we're tough to beat. So we're going to keep doing that.
Can't wait, man. It's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait. We're going to do this each Thursday. Are you prepared for that? I mean, I talk to you all the time. Weekly might be a bit much. I don't know if you're prepared for that.
Matt, good question. I'll have to think of some good stories for you. Don't worry. I'll have fresh material every week.
If you got something on Emmanuel, that'd be awesome, because then if I can, give him something in the booth to rag about, that would be great material. So you can think about that, okay?
I will do that for sure.
Good to see you, bud. We'll see you on Saturday, okay?
Thanks, Dom.
There he is. Grant Olson joins us each and every Thursday at 10 o'clock. Bison defensive coordinator gives the lowdown on the game plan the Bison will have for Jacksonville State. We'll break. We come back. The OC will join us. Dan Larson on the other side of the break to give us the offensive perspective the Bison are going to have for their matchup with the Gamecocks. We'll do that when Hot Mike rolls on here on a Thursday morning. We're back right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. We gave the defense its love here to start this second hour of the show. It's time now to talk some offense. As every Thursday, as I mentioned, we'll have the DC and the OC. Dan Larson joins us here to talk on the Bison matchup with Jacksonville State. Pretty pumped about this. Do this each and every Thursday. It's great to see. I got to start, though. There was a photo that came out last week of the Seahawks and the Titans are doing their joint practices. I see Cordell Volson with Gray Zabel and Jalen Sundell. That I know you saw it. That was pretty darn cool.
Yeah, this is the worst I've ever been in terms of staying in contact with guys this fall camp. And so Gray sent me that picture. I've, it's what a cool deal for those guys to be able to practice against each other, or at least be on the same field with each other, and then certainly get that picture afterwards. It doesn't matter if it was Cordell and Dylan one of those years, or Zach Johnson, and when I was just getting into it. But for those guys to have opportunities to be on an NFL field and then share a picture and some stories there, it's a pretty cool deal.
It's kind of hard to have a game right now without a Bison being involved in it, which is just the matter of fact. I'm not bragging, boasting. That's just fact right now.
Yeah. Well, our guys keep taking advantage of opportunities. I mean, really cool to see some of these highlights that have come out, even of Jaden Price and then Destin Talbert doing great things in the CFL. So it's always one of those things where you're really appreciative that you're at a place where guys have the opportunity to continue to chase their dreams. And more often than not, when our guys have had the opportunity to chase them, they made the most out of them.
So you've been coaching a long time. Where is the nerve ranking for week one? Is it like off the charts in terms of preparation? Where is that at for what's going to happen Saturday?
Probably not as high as my first year, Marietta versus Dubuque, when I was at Marietta College in Ohio. I think as you and I had shared earlier, I mean, it's just so different now because, different opponent, which, non-conference is always going to be that way. But all of a sudden, you're not guaranteed that you're going to have the same team from the year prior to to this year, right? So I would say it's probably up there. It's definitely at the top. I think there's some other games that throughout my coaching career that for various reasons had some different feelings mixed in with it. But this one is certainly right at the top for sure.
How did you see offense manifest itself throughout fall camp, Dan, in terms of where did you see we made some real growth here throughout the fall that I feel better about it going into week one?
Well, I think just watching Nate kind of continue to settle into being the starting quarterback, ownership, command of the offense. I mean, I think even when you go in there as in the senior and going through it like the spring for the first time, as there's still growings and adjustments and all these things that have to happen. What's the expectations now? Really, what is it? Instead of just sitting on the sidelines and kind of watching the aspect of it. I was really pleased with that. And then I think just how guys kind of jumped in and competed. It wasn't easy to say, okay, these are our top 6 wide receivers. It really wasn't easy to say, okay, this is going to be the 5 starting offensive linemen. So to watch some of those competitive battles and know, okay, we got guys that are continuing to push, it only bodes well for us moving down the road because we'll only be as good as what the depth of our offense is going to be from a too deep standpoint.
All the talk, obviously, is on your QB. What have you seen out of Nathan Hayes, even from the end of spring practice to now, to say he's gotten even more confident? We're ready to let it rip on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think it's his comfortability with having a conversation. I think it's his comfortability with saying, I don't like, this doesn't fit me. I don't feel comfortable throwing this or reading this, or I really like this part of it. And same thing with, the run game aspect of it, So I think it's been more just his vocal willingness to talk about it. And, hey, if I ask you something, you don't have to tell me yes all the time. But then it's just been his command of the offense as well, too. We've had probably our best, 7 to 10 practices, 2-minute drill, which is always really hard. And then it's really hard when you're going against our defense and the stuff that Grant and the staff kind of come up with. And, so I think that's we're moving in the right direction. There's going to be some things that are going to happen in the first game, some jitters and anxiousness that's going to creep up, and we're going to do everything we can to help him with that part of it. But the growth and maturity that he's had, I think, over the course of the last month gives us a ton of confidence.
You've seen him his entire time here, and just the passion he plays with. Is that something you embrace, or you try to rein it in a little bit, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be both. I mean, that if you try to pull it back, then you're not allowing him to be him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to lower your shoulder and try to finish on somebody on the sideline? No. So there's some. Hey, let's have a little bit of. There's some gray area here, but I think it's what, his competitiveness. I think it was his confidence in himself. And I think those are the things that drew Coach Hedberg to recruit him. Certainly, I think we've seen the maturity aspect as he's gotten older a little bit. But, we got to let him be him, and we got to trust him, and he's got to trust us as well, too. And I think we've there's been a great collaboration there over the course of the past month since we started fall camp.
I feel I've been derelict. I haven't talked enough about the running backs. What have you seen there throughout camp? Obviously, with Miles Mitchell getting an elevated role, DJ Scott being back. Naoti Puni just looks a physical specimen. What do we anticipate of what you're seeing out of the running backs here on Saturday?
It's a good mixture. Probably we don't give DJ enough credit, for how good of a player he is. Obviously when you sit, and you're sharing some carries with Barika, you're not going to get as noticed, but he's a good, talented, every down player, first, second, third down. And Miles has really kind of shown us that he can handle a lot of those same things. Certainly it's going to be his first game. So, there'll be some growing pains with that part of it. And then, I think it's, whether you're talking about, Naoti, you're talking about Brady Wavernick is creating a role, Barry Pino's continued to push. There's some competitive depth in that room. They all do something a little bit different. We've got obviously certainly, we don't want to play a ton of guys, but what we want to do is we want to find ways that we can get guys involved that deserve to be involved. And then, try to start riding a hot hand once we get to, kind of late third and fourth quarter. Who's running it the right way, who's protecting it the right way, who's catching it the right way, and then obviously who has great ball security.
They all do something different, Dan, in your mind, at running back?
Yeah, I do. Miles, we kind of knew was, I don't know if I would say go as far to call him like a typical slasher, but, he catches the ball really well. He's a very headsy player. If we have to correct something twice, we usually don't have to correct it 3 times. I think that part of it, they've all done a really nice job with. But, there's certainly some power and different levels of speed, different levels of shiftiness. I think they're all a different version of a tough tackle. And so obviously we want all that to come out on Saturday.
Tight end is always a spot. That's a position coach that you coach. And I think you always shake your head at me when I ask you about Mr. Kessel. But I talked to him earlier in fall camp. He's not going to sneak up on anybody this year. People are going to know where 81 is on the field. How did you talk to him about that? Like, this is not what last year was like. Regardless of competition level, it's on tape now that they've seen what he can do.
Yeah, I don't have to talk too much about it. I think it's you bring it up one time, but the added size, the added strength that he's put on. Yeah. I think he obviously took that part very seriously in terms of this is what I got to do in order to play. Challenging him, can I only put you out there on third down, or do you actually want to play, a lot of the game, like on first and second down? I've been really impressed by him. I've been impressed by the whole room, but Reese has done a great job. He's still young, and I got to keep reminding myself that. I mean, he's far from a full finished product. His full potential is still out there. We're going to keep chasing and pushing for it. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be a guy that people are going to know. So therefore, everything's got to be a little bit better. Blocking's got to be a little bit better. Top of the route's got to be a little bit better. But I know he's up for the challenge.
Offensive line is always close to your heart. When you saw what the 5 were going to be, when did you get a sense like we're going to roll with this? Would you felt confident that this is the 5 guys we're going to go with?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably 7 to 8 to 10 days ago. Yeah. Certainly Nate Tosted kind of going down with an injury. I mean, maybe cleared some things up just a little bit. We're excited. Nate's attacked the rehab. He looks great right now. But I think what you started to see was a combination. Emp kind of still, being a little bit of the chief ram. Yeah. So him kind of being next to 2 really young players in terms of, I know Ryan played a few games, but he's still young. I mean, I don't think you can't really talk about veteran status, and so you're talking 20 plus starts. So I mean, for him to be in between him and Gage has handled the snapping part of it really well. And then I think, Josh and Kenne just kind of, they're a little bit of the same personalities. They're a little bit quiet, but I think there's an uber competitive person under both of them that they don't show it outwardly. I think it's more of just their drive and their demeanor. So I think those guys, and then again, they all beat out, a Noah Stummis. They beat out a Coy Okeson, but Jax Lewinsky and Nate Snucklehoff, like they beat out guys to earn that spot, which I think is great. They weren't handed it. And it only tells us that, okay, we've got a deep room that's only continue to get better. These are competitive guys. We got to find ways to play more offensive linemen. It comes down to it. If you think you've got 7 or 8 good ones, okay, how do we get these guys on the field and how do we play them?
Gage Schmidt's a crazy story that it's his birthday on Saturday. He's going to make his first start. I mean, he's consistently, at least I know I talked to you during spring ball about him, that he just kept getting better, that you had to keep him on the field, right?
Yeah. Competitive kid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, just probably doesn't show you how competitive he is because he's a little bit of a stone face. But when you're got a hockey background,
Yeah.
like it's either you're a defenseman. Look, you're either stopping in front of pucks that are getting hit at you, right? You're controlling things on the board. You're almost out there on the ice all the time. He had some qualities and some characteristics coming out of high school that didn't just stop at the football field. And for him to earn a scholarship, to do all these things as first, I think he's going to handle the moment really well. Again, we're going to have some growing pains as long as it's not a snap, to the right or to the left. Too bad. It's all the things that we challenged him on. He's stepped up, and I'm excited to watch him play.
I know you're going to give me the kitchen sink when I ask you this. How much do we see Jackson Williams now involved in the passing game in 2026?
Yeah, I got asked about that, and I think I've mentioned this maybe to you before. Bryce was going to be on an outside more often than not. Raja was going to be in the slot more often than not. So we were never afraid of kind of playing to our strengths, right? Like that wasn't ever anything that I looked at as a negative. But now it's kind of, okay, how do we work this puzzle to fit guys into pieces, and how do you actually create more variety and more variations out of your passing game by moving guys around,
right.
Trade shift motion, formationally, all those types of things. So he's a really good player. He's in a really competitive room. There's a lot of guys there that have the ability to catch the football and run good routes, and we got to find ways to mix them all together to find the best way to get our guys out there. But Jackson's going to be involved. He's a super good player. He's an uber competitive guy, the types of players that we love to coach here at NDSU.
And he catches the ball, right? Which is the number one thing you'll always tell me about. You got to catch the ball, which is Jackson does that. His baseball background really helps on that. Let's talk defense here, what you're going to see. I've fixated on Jacksonville State's offense. They got some dudes at linebacker that are back. What stood out to you on tape? Say, okay, we got to attack this on Saturday.
Well, they play downhill, and they run really, really hard to the football. The Sanders kid is really good.
Yep.
I mean, for him to, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to talk for the coaching staff there. Obviously, they know more about it than I do. But for him to beat out and play over, I think, a really talented senior last year, the number 49 guy on film was really impressive to watch. And then the Osteen kid is number 40. They're big, they're long, they run. I would think they're going to be as good as anybody that we'll see. Certainly, you would put them right up there with any of the top linebackers that we would have saw last year. Niekamp, anybody from South Dakota State or South Dakota. I mean, these guys can run downhill, and they're really physical. It has our offensive line's attention because they're going to fit them up in the run game. Yep. But it's got our running back's attention, our tight end's attention. They're tough. They're really physical.
Seeing Caleb Nix on the back end, the Nix name goes without saying. His older brother is the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. How good of a safety is Caleb Nix out there on the back end?
Yeah, very good. And it's kind of like Jackson for us. Like anytime that you got us, who are they putting back there to return the football and the punt return and the kicker? It's guys you trust, right? And he never watched every single one of their games and never really seemed to be out of position, always seemed to kind of know where to go, nose for the football, gadget, misdirection plays. They didn't fool him for very long. He was getting back in on the tackle. So very solid, very good player. We're going to have to know where he's at because I think he's always going to be around the football. And that was the one thing that always stood out when you pop the tape on. I mean, the linebackers, this guy are always around the football, and then this D-line, they run to the ball. I don't know how many different times we've counted, D tackles jumping on the backs of running backs to make a tackle. They're a well-coached team. They're high energy and really physical defense.
And he does he punt returns, and I think he holds as well. So, I mean, he's on the field all the time.
All the time. It just goes to show you. I mean, good football players are good football players, and you're always going to try to find ways to have those guys impact it. And, James Hendricks, right? I mean, find ways for him to hold the ball and, hey, and we need you to play Sam linebacker this week. Yeah, coach, probably no issues. They're good football players are good football players.
I was asking Grant this. I'll ask you this before I let you out of here. Are there first game jitters for you doing this a long time? Do you have that, or you think you'll have it on Saturday before the game?
Yep.
What goes into that? It's just part of the deal.
Yeah, I think it is part of the deal.
Yeah.
I have nothing but belief and trust in our guys. When I go to bed at night on Friday and wake up on Saturday, hey, these guys are going to come out. They're going to play the right way. I think it's just more of, not to share a story, but I'm a young coach. I'm at Colgate University. Dick Biddle's the head coach. He's a Hall of Famer. And I just asked him, hey, what goes into it? He goes, well, I always think it's important to win that first one because then you can't ever go 0-12. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a heck of a way to look at it, coach. So I don't know if that played into it a little bit. It's more for me. I think it's not, I don't know if it's anxiousness. I think it's more just I want to see our guys come out and play, bump this thing back 2 more hours. Now we got to wait till 4:30. I kick it off at 10 o'clock. Let's get going. But it's more just, I usually do play a pretty good, okay, what will they do to this if I do this? If they do this, what's our answer going to be? And so you don't sleep very well because you're thinking through a lot of different things. But once the ball gets kicked off, I got nothing but confidence and belief in our players.
That's a great story. I've not heard that one before. That's true, though. He's right. If you win, you're not going to be 0-12, right? So
they can't fire me and say I went 0-12. I at least won one game. It's like, geez. And he'd been doing it for a long time.
Right.
He coached Bruce Smith. The guy had been around some Hall of Famers. He had seen it. And that was his mentality and mindset. I was like, all right.
How is that for a young coach to hear that? All right, well,
yeah,
great.
Right? Oh, okay. At least if we win the first one, guys, good chance he's going to bring us back. Maybe, I don't know,
We're really looking forward to doing this all season long. Thanks so much for the time, and I'll see you on Saturday, okay?
Sounds great. Appreciate it, Dom.
There he is, Dan Larson, North Dakota State offensive coordinator. He'll join us on the show at 10:20 each Thursday throughout the football season. He knows it. Goes without saying. There's pressure on him this year, especially after how last season ended, to go out there and see what this Bison offense can do. And I got asked about it. I was on a separate show this morning, and I will reiterate what I've said before. We got to go to break here. I'm not concerned on the quarterback. I'm concerned on the ones he's throwing it to. I saw way too many balls dropped in the time I was up at camp. Who are the playmakers? The ones playing in the NFL now. Raja Nelson was really good. I don't know if he's ever going to get the respect he had. Chris Harris was really darn good. Those guys are gone. A lot of production that's not there anymore. It's on Jackson Williams and Reese Kessel and Mekhi Collins. And then is it Jeremiah Patterson? Is it Isaiah St. Romain? Logan Conklin? Somebody's got to make plays. I don't know who's going to do that. We'll find out maybe on Saturday. All right, we'll get back on schedule here. We'll take a couple breaks here, and we'll get a few emails, and we got a bunch of that coming in. We're into the final 20 minutes or so already of the show. Back on Hot Mic after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Quick segment here to make sure we get back on time and get out of here for our show. That was awesome. If you're Bison Rube out there, if you're not now in the know of what's going on, the two coordinators gave you everything I think they were willing to give in terms of what they're going to say publicly for the matchup here on Saturday between the Bison and Jacksonville State. 4:30 CBS Sports Network. I believe tomorrow we're going to have a chance to visit with one Brian Kelly, who will be on the call of the game on CBS-SN on Saturday, former Notre Dame and LSU coach. He also coached here in Fargo at Grand Valley State way back when. So they'll be part of our pregame coverage on Bison Game Day coming up on Saturday. Let's get caught up here. Dom, what day of the week will CBS, CW, etc. bring their circus of trucks and buses to the Dome to get set up for their broadcast of home football games? A day or two before or earlier than that? I would imagine they will be here today. If I had a guess on that, because I know setup is happening tomorrow, so I'd anticipate that they'll probably be arriving today on that. Another email. Dom, how would you approach the matchup Saturday at corner? The Jacksonville State OC has got to be loving the matchup against the Bison corners. Do the Bison bring pressure to help out the secondary or force Jacksonville State to be patient and throw underneath to move the chains? That's a good question for Grant Olson. I'm not sure he would answer that on the air. What would I do? I think they're bringing the house. You heard Grant say that. They're going to unleash that defensive line. So we'll see how they fare. That offensive line for Jacksonville State's got some experience, but they're going to count on the Dome crowd being a factor. I think you heard that as well, that to let Keenan Wilson, to let Kelton McCaslin, Matthew Stenbrotten, I think, is due for, a really big year at defensive end. Keenan Wilson, Elijah Wayne, Logan Larson, Zach Vanderpool. That is the group there at defensive tackle. And Jackson Dutenhover was a great player. and was an all-time Bison. This defensive tackle group is more talented than what it had last year. Elijah Wayne is 15 pounds bigger. Vanderpool was coming on like a freight train, I thought, at the end of last year. Logan Larson is ready for the job. He's now a captain. He's ready to lead that group at D-tackle. And Keenan Wilson has gotten every major preseason accolade you can think of. And he was a massive disruptor in the middle last year. That's the strength of the team. Grant said it. I couldn't agree more. Defensive line, defensive tackle is the strength of the Bison football roster. However we want to say that on August 27th, that's where they're going to make their hay and force some tackles and force some lost yardage. I'm really interested to see how they play and maybe help out those young corners, those inexperienced corners, to get in their first start and get in their first real game action. Because the skill level is only going to go up in terms of who they're facing on the out. I mean, DeAndre Johnson is certainly the tallest guy they're going to face. 6'8" wide receiver. They're not going to face anybody taller than that. And you heard Dan Larson say this, and you got to pick through it, but he said at the end. And I think there's some – they think, or at least I think some believe, this might be the most talented team they play all season. You could – whatever you want to say about UNLV and New Mexico and Hawaii and Air Force, I think there is some – if you were to give them the truth serum, they would tell you Jacksonville State might be the most talented team they face. So if that's not reason enough to go – we got 200 and some odd tickets left, then there it is, that this might be. And this is a home game to start the season. It's just going to be phenomenal to unfold coming up on Saturday. All right, we'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things. We got a great Sports Thursday on tap. We'll get you ready for that and send you out the door as Hot Mike wraps on WDAY Extra, KSFL, and KMBN after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Thursday morning. We're back with you tomorrow. Season debut for my dad. We'll get Friday picks for him coming up. Corey Provis will join us tomorrow. Eric Burgat will join us, head coach of the Kindred Vikings. They get ready for their season opener with Devil's Lake, part of a packed Friday show to get us ready for First Down Friday tomorrow night, and then off to the weekend for the first full college football Saturday for the FCS teams. We got 8 FBS games, obviously the Bison opener, and then everybody jumps into the pool next week. It feels like everybody else is starting later, but actually we're starting earlier. It's just a wild deal with the early start of the season, which will become normal next season. Just we got the final week of preseason games getting going tonight. Vikings obviously play tomorrow night in Denver. Kevin O'Connell has not made it confirmed yet of who's going to be starting at quarterback in the game, depending on how J.J. McCarthy's ankle feels. I think they want McCarthy to play. It's all a matter of how he is feeling for that game. Could be Carson Wentz starting. Could be Max Brosmer. Maybe we'll find out later today. So the Vikes will fly to Denver for their final preseason game coming up tomorrow. Then roster cuts, and we'll find out who exactly is on the 53-man roster around the league. Out of Atlanta, Kevin Stefanski said Michael Penix will not play. So is it Jack Strand going to start? Is it Cooper Rush that's going to be the guy? We're going to try and get Tony Racioppi tomorrow as well, who was Cam Miller's quarterback coach and was Jack Strand's quarterback coach, because the Falcons and the Dolphins play tomorrow in the NFL preseason. That's a really unique combo there. And obviously Cam's fighting to be on that Dolphins roster. We certainly think that Jack Strand is going to be on the Falcons roster come when they start making cuts. So we're hopefully get maybe Tony back on. He's been a great guest of ours leading up to Cam's draft prospects, and obviously visited with him during this past spring when Jack Strand was going through the same deal. So hopefully look for that on a really packed edition of Hot Mike coming up tomorrow. With that said, let's do some What to Watch, because we got a lot to get to here before we get out of here on this Thursday. All righty, Roo, here we go. No Twins tonight. They're flying back. UND opener with the Long Island Sharks. 7 o'clock tonight from the Alaris Center. Should be a great crowd. Midco will have the coverage of that tonight. We'll have highlights and reaction on the show tomorrow from UND's opener. No Lance Rucker for the Fighting Hawks, as we talked about with Eric Schmidt yesterday. Jerry Kaminsky back for his second year at starter. We'll see how Deng Deng performs. Obviously a lot of hype around the 4 wins Minnewacan standout. We'll see and this Long Island team will be overmatched. UND should handle this game. They're a 27.5-point favorite for that coming up tonight. Tour Championship gets going here. The final PGA Tour event of the year. Noon on the Golf Channel. The top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings are playing in that down in Atlanta. Also, as we mentioned, NFL preseason final week starts tonight. Rams and Chargers. We'll probably see Trey Lance on the field for L.A. tonight. That's on the NFL Network at 9. Our thanks to Dan Larson, to Grant Olson, to Sam Goetzinger, and to Lakyn Donnelly. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Have a thrilling Thursday, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.